Welcome to the Care Sis Podcast with me, Ki and Kiki.
Join two friends for a conversation around self-care in real life. We'll talk about anything on the spectrum from bubble baths to setting boundaries to managing friendships and more.
As your sisters, we also just want to provide a weekly check-in. You know, like big sis asking little sis, sis, you good? So come on in, sis. Let's talk about how we can take better care of ourselves.
Hey, Ki.
What's up, Kiki?
How are you, sis?
Kiki, do I see you drinking water?
Yes.
What? Go, girl.
This is my third bottle today. Yes, cheers. This is my third bottle today, I said.
Y'all, did y'all hear that? This is her third bottle. Y'all know what? Give my sister a clap. A round of applause for her third bottle of the day. And it is only 6 o'clock. That means she's gonna fit in one more whole bottle.
I am. I really am. I've been doing good though. I've been doing good with this water. Okay. I felt good going into the doctor's office and being like, I've been drinking water. Okay. Cause you know, first thing they say, you know, are you eating right? You know, what's going on.
Right.
So I've been drinking water and I've been eating good. Okay.
So I have not. And that is going to be a topic for another day. I've been traveling the last 2 weeks. I am exhausted, 1. And 2, my whole eating, exercise, that has been shot to shit. I'm going to do better, though, now that I'm back home. But that's going to be a topic.
Listen, traveling and trying to eat right and stay on your regular routine is really hard. So, I mean...
Yeah, and I haven't been alone. Like, it's not like I traveled alone. I've been in the group setting for 2 weeks, which was also a lot on the introvert in me. This bitch right now, she is screaming. Like, on the inside, she is screaming. You hear me? I hear it.
Your social meter is down here. I understand.
No, she done dropped it to the floor.
Mm-hmm. Low battery.
No battery. Anyway, so what we talking about today, Kiki?
Well, I just want to kind of recap. Last week we talked about star goals. If y'all want to get into that, go ahead and listen to the episode. Hopefully y'all listening, okay? Don't make us come for you. Don't make us come for you, okay? We will.
I will be bored on social media stalking. Sending you DMs. Hey, did you listen? Sending you our stories. Did you listen this week? I got time. I got a whole day off this week.
So listen to the episode, but I just wanted to check in because, you know, last week we talked about goals, but we did set goals for that week. And I know you said you was going to get into your grant writing course, but I know you've been traveling. So how is that going, sis?
Yeah, I just went ahead and called in people and was like, friend, I'm not going to be able to finish this course because I got a lot going on. And like, my outcome with work was looking real bleak. So I did myself and them a favor. So they didn't have to email me no more. And I postponed the course. So the course is 9 weeks. I postponed it until the next 9-week course. Yep. Thank you. Because I do want to take it. I just knew better. No. No.
That's why last week I was like, don't put too much on yourself because we know life happens.
Yes. Kiki, did you focus more on your movement?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I did do. Because, you know, last week, the active part of the STAR goal said to focus on what you can do and what you can't. So I did find my smartwatch. I did not focus on movement, but I found my smartwatch. So we're going to get that charged and we're going to get on it, okay? But I did keep up with my water, like we're starting off with, and eating pretty well. So I'm proud of myself for that, even though I didn't get my movement in like I said I was.
shout out to, that's good for you. I'm proud of you for finding the watch. Next week is going to be a better week. But shout out to my homegirl, Malikia, because first of all, it's Aries season. So shout out and happy birthday to my Aries sis. But second, you know what? None of that. But she did a really cool thing. She said that for Lent, you know how people with Lent, they give up something? And please, religious folks, don't come for me for what I'm about to say, okay? Or come for my sis, because Aries are protectors. Like, again, I'll be in your DMs. So what she did for Lent, and I get it. Lent, you're supposed to literally give up something. But what she decided to focus on, which goes back to our star goals, she focused on what she could add to her life that was healthy, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of giving up, like, say, giving up like chocolate, mm-hmm. she has added a portion of fruit every day. So she shared that on social media, and I was like, that's such a good idea. Again, religious people don't come for me because I know Lent literally means giving up something. But I thought it was cool, and it went with our star goals. And I'll tell you what I did do last week. And it wasn't out of a good thing. I did it out of necessity. I woke up and I felt like the freaking Tin Man one day. And so I got on my mat. So I got on my mat for like 20 minutes, like several times before I left for the conference. So yeah, I was proud of me because literally just one day, I was like, I want to move my body. I want to do yoga. So I did it. And I was outside doing it too. Girl, it felt so good. It was warm out. The sun shone. The sun was still, like, it wasn't like shining, so it wasn't like hot. It was setting. It was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that's what I did there.
That's a good thing. That's really good. I know it was out of necessity, but you got it done. You did it.
Well, actually, so the first day that I did it, it wasn't out of necessity. I just felt like moving. And then one day, the first day of our conference, that involved me like moving a whole bunch of luggage in and out of my house and then into the hotel room and then walking around the conference center and all the other stuff. So yeah, that next morning I was the Tin Man, and sure enough, got on my mat because I had brought it. I brought it. Mm-hmm. So I got on. So
that was intentional. So that was good.
Yes. And it was funny because, so y'all have to know, I am not a morning person. I'm not. I'm not a morning person. And so we left on Thursday, and I was a zombie that morning because we left at 6:30 in the morning. I had to get up out of my bed and be packed and at my line sister's house at 6:30 in the morning. Listen, y'all, that right there should have got me all cool points for the rest of the year. Let me just start there. So she was like, you were a zombie in the car. And I was like, yeah, I probably was. I admitted it. I know myself. I know I am weak in that area. Not a morning person. So the next day, I didn't want to give them that same energy. So I got up and I did my yoga to make sure that I was fully awake when I saw my line sister's name. I was like, dang, this is different. And I was like, I paid for it that night though, because again, being the night owl, I was up late, but I got up early to do yoga. Yeah, it'll work itself out. Probably why I'm tired now. Probably why I'm tired.
Oh my goodness. So before we move on, a part of my self-care for the past 2 weeks, you've been traveling, conferences and all that stuff. I went to a concert.
Yes, you did.
And it was everything. I was like, it just feels good to be out and doing stuff again. Of course, I kept my mask on because I don't trust these people. But it was a good experience. I mean, granted, I might be a little bit of a Maxwell super fan because this is my third concert and I really ain't tired of going to see him. But who cares? And surprisingly, so like it was Maxwell, Anthony Hamilton, and Joe. And Joe had the
bond. Like, you're like, a few people on my timeline have been going to this concert.
Girl. So Joe gets on the stage and I'm like, this man looks good after like 20 years. Like, what you drinking? Water. Drinking all this water over there and looking good and sounding good and moving good. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Drinking
I want to
water.
be like him.
I bet you it's kale. I bet you it's kale.
It might be, sis. Because they was all moving like they was 20 and they all like 40, 50, 40, 48, 50.
Well, I'm going to the New Edition Jodeci concert this coming weekend, because I can't see them. Yeah, and I've seen pictures, like they opened up in Atlanta. I think they skipped the kale in their regime. I think they got the water, but they may have skipped the kale. But I'm gonna go see them anyway, and I'm gonna enjoy myself.
Yes, please enjoy yourself. Please enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
I also celebrated my grandma's 75th birthday.
Go Goody! And Granny is so Aries. Sorry.
Yes, Lord, she is.
Listen, we're beautiful people, and we start the whole zodiac thing. So
y'all are beautiful people. Yes, very beautiful. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Aries spreads great energy. I posted it on my, so if you follow me on yoga_with_Ki Ki, right? I posted on the first day of Aries season the benefits to everybody what the Aries sun does. So y'all get your life.
Kiki. My grandma was born on the first day of Aries season.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's amazing. So before we get too far in the weeds, this, y'all, is the last week of March, and that means so many things outside of the fact that spring is here. Woo! My car tells the story. I drive a black car, y'all, and I hate it every spring because it's yellow.
Yeah.
But I realized if I had any other color car, I would never clean it. No, I'm sorry. The black makes me lazy. I never want to wash it. So spring makes me clean it. That's what I meant to say. Not a car person. I drive it. I put gas in it. I drive it. I get the oil changes.
Same.
Tires. Yeah.
Luckily, I have a tan or gold car, so no, we don't. Ain't got to.
That's a good idea. I'm probably switch up because
I don't be the one trying to wash my car all the time. No.
This is going to be the most sexist thing I'll ever say, but I need a man for that. Anyway, last, and then I'm going to say some fucked up shit next, but it's the last week of Women's History Month.
Oh, that's not fucked up. I mean, it is.
I just said something really sexist and then say it's the last week of Women's History Month. Right. Okay. But it is. It is the last week of Women's History Month, and I love it, because all you see all over social media is people uplifting women. I've seen a lot more this year of white influencers uplifting Black influencers or Black women, so shout out to y'all. But more importantly, girl, are you watching the Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearings? Okay, because that is women's history. Let's go on and give it up.
Yes.
That is women's history. She is about to make history because her resume is flawless.
Yes, it is. We will, but it is flawless.
Another episode. Her resume is flawless. They're not going to find nothing wrong with her. And she went to Harvard. How are you going to turn? Anyway, don't get me started. We'll talk about that another issue. But that is our shout out to Women's History Month. All right, what we finna talk about today? We're gonna talk about burnout. burnout. Sis, you are not just tired. You're burnt out. You're burnt out, sis. 2 weeks ago, we talked about languishing and how it makes you feel stagnant and just bleh, right? But aside from that feeling, have you noticed that there's an increase in people leaving their jobs or careers? Hashtag the Great Resignation. There's a large group of people who have left their job but chose not to go and start another. They literally took a break before moving on to another job, or they are switching careers altogether, or they're seeking entrepreneurship.
So, of course, this is a side effect of the Panasonic that's still here. I mean, it's a battery, y'all. We low battery right now. We low battery, okay? Everybody's low battery. But in addition to leaving jobs, people are just literally tired. I have had so many people in my life just say how much they are just they're tired for no reason at all. No damn reason. Just tired. Flat out exhausted. So we might not just be tired, y'all. We might be burned out. Burned out.
So Inc.com, I found this article on Inc.com called 5 Physical Symptoms That Might Really Be Burnout in Disguise. And that is where our topic came from. That and the fact that I recognized I was burnt out on my last job. And I practiced what I preached. And I advocated for myself. And I now have a new job.
Yay!
Yeah. Last week was my last week on my last job. Next week I start my new job. And it was a bittersweet feeling I had this past week because it's funny. If anyone watches or follows Kier Gaines on social media, he is this Black male therapist, and he gives his followers an affirmation every month. And this month's affirmation was by Alex L. Don't get me to quote the affirmation, because I can't. But anyway, it was talking about grief, and it was talking about how you can, and it is okay to feel two completely opposite feelings at the same time. And that is where I was last week. I was elated that I was leaving this job that I felt like was not only stressful, but was toxic. But I was also grieving the fact that I was leaving this job that I low-key enjoyed. I mean, there were a lot of aspects of it that I enjoyed, but I realized I was burnt out and I had to do something different because my job involves me working for and with the community. And I got to a point where I didn't want to do that. Now, and it was above and beyond my whole like introversion. It was above and beyond that. I just really did not want to give it my all anymore. And that's when one day I don't even know that I looked it up, but I was just like, I was tired. I didn't feel like giving my all. And that's just not who I am. Like who I am, when I'm committed to something, all right, I'm gonna do it. Especially like working for in my community. I'm really, that's my thing. That's my thing. Mm-hmm. And so when I stopped wanting to do that, I was like, the fuck. And I was doing some talking, some thinking, some introspection, and realized I was burnt out. So what was I going to do about it? And that's what we're talking about today.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to recognize that and do something about it before it got to a point where it would just cause something like depression, because that's exactly what burnout can lead to. So I'm happy for you, Chris. Happy.
Thank you. So what is burnout? According to Psychology Today, burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. Though it's often caused by problems at work, it can also appear in other areas of life, such as parenting, caretaking, or romantic relationships.
So, what causes burnout?
I don't know. You tell me, friend.
Of course, stress is the number one factor. So anything can cause stress. So family members, work, significant others, like you said, caretaking. And it's mainly prolonged periods of stress that cause burnout. So most of the time, stress is kind of short term, but if you have prolonged periods of stress where it's just nothing's letting up, you may be burnout.
Yeah. Going back to like the definition of burnout, physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress, like that was so real. Like, and I recognize that for me, it happened in phases. There was the phase that I just didn't feel like doing anything physically. And to know me, you know that I'm always ripping and running. And I like love working out. I love dancing. I love going to the gym. I like my yoga. And that was another clue. We're going to talk about that. Like I'll pause, I'll put a pin in that, but we'll talk about that. Because that was my biggest clue for me that I knew that I was burnt out when I just did not want to do the yoga. That's not me. But then I started to see so prolonged periods of stress. Full disclosure, I did electoral work. And between the fact that, you know, the government's trying to strip people of color of their voting rights or won't give them access to voting. They in Florida don't want to say that people are gay. You can't say, they're trying to ban the word gay. Right. In Texas, they want to put people in jail if their kids are trans, like that type of stuff. Like the literal attack on people here in this country is exhausting. Right. And working in electoral work, like you not only got to help, like you have to bring awareness to it. Then you got to mobilize people to act out against it. And then you got to find, I'm not one for trying to create chaos without having a solution. So what's the solution to that, right? And that's where I got really frustrated because the solution, there are solutions, there really are. They're going to take work and they're going to take people committed to the work. And some of our current elected officials, I'm not sure they're committed to that work. So I got really, really frustrated. And that's what kind of started the burnout. Because I'm just looking and I'm just like, yo. And that was it for me. What started my burnout. I'm just telling y'all all my business today, Lord.
I mean, we can all relate. We need to hear this. Oh, so let's get into the 5 physical signs of burnout. And this is from the article that Ki found on Inc.com.
Yes.
The first is insomnia. So for me, honestly, I can't tell if I have insomnia or if I'm just a night owl because I'm naturally a night owl. I love to stay up and do things at night. That's when I get my energy. That's when I get my ideas. And if I start something at night, I'm going to try to complete it because that's how I operate. So for me, it might be a little bit of insomnia as well.
Sis legit be sending me texts or sending me emails at 3 a.m. Sis, how about you get some sleep, friend?
I will. But research suggests that chronic stress interferes with the complicated neurological and hormonal system that regulates sleep. It's a vicious cycle because not sleeping throws the system even more out of whack. And if you notice you're unable to sleep at night, then that could be a sign that you're experiencing burnout. And this was said by Lottie Derby? Dearby?
I'm going to go with Dearby.
Okay. Lottie Dearby. And she's a doctor who studies burnout at the Mayo Clinic.
Let me just go ahead and say, and put a little bug in your ear. This neurological and hormonal system that is regulated by sleep is very underrated. And I say underrated because of hustle culture, of grind culture, of Benjamin Franklin, who made the freaking 8-hour workday. I'm still angry with him. I know he ain't here with us no more, but I'm still mad because was it Benjamin Franklin? No, Henry Ford. One of them old presidents. They decided that we needed an 8-hour workday during the Industrial Revolution and whatnot. And the 8-hour workday is trash. It's trash.
Really is.
that we are actually any more productive now. Like somebody needs to readdress this. Anyway, I digress. I hate the 8-hour workday. I am so good for about 4 hot hours. After that, don't tell my new bosses. But this hustle culture is like team no sleep. Get up at 6 a.m. and make sure you're up and rise and you working before your hustlers and so on and so forth. And there are people, and I think even Deepak Chopra might be on that, get up at 6 a.m. and meditate and so on and so forth. The Bible talks about getting up that early, but you cannot disrespect this whole biological clock that your body has going on, because some of us are just not wired that way. Now, can you change the wiring? Sure. You can do all things through Christ Jesus who loves you, or whatever your God is. But some of us just aren't wired that way, and you got to honor that. But if you're not sleeping, that is very detrimental, not just to your, it's very detrimental because it affects so many of your mental faculties. I was once told or read somewhere that insomnia or the lack of sleep affects your brain the same way that drinking does. And so like there's people who have, they crash and stuff. People who work third shift are really bad about this. They crash because they're exhausted, right? And because we messing up that biological clock, because your body wants you to sleep at night, not during the day. My body is maybe a little messed up because we like to sleep, but whatever. So there's that. And for those of us ladies that are trying to, or men who are trying to lose weight, how much are you sleeping at night? This is what Fitbit is teaching me. Your Fitbit and your Apple Watches and all those smartwatches, they actually track your sleep, how much sleep you're getting. And then if you pay for the upgrade, they can tell you what kind of quality sleep you're getting. There's also those good old sleep studies that they do. Now, if you do a sleep study, I'm trying to tell you, everybody got sleep apnea. Like I'm thinking a cult, because if you go to a sleep study, you finna have sleep apnea. Everybody to sleep in the study room gets sleep apnea. Like I don't know nobody that came out safe. It was just like, no, I don't have it. I don't know nobody.
Come to think of it, you're right. Everybody that I know that has done a sleep study, sleep apnea.
Nobody's safe. So you gonna get the mask, and they gonna charge you every month for the mask and the machine. They gonna charge you. Don't do it, bro. Just get some sleep. Take some something. But anyway, lack of sleeping can lead to weight gain or lack of weight loss. I'll say that because not everybody gains, but you may have a hard time losing the weight if your biological clock is off because you're not sleeping. That's my little 2 cents.
And to piggyback off of the biological clock and the hormonal system, neurological system, all of that has to do with your circadian rhythm as well.
That's so.
So, like you said, most of the time we're meant to be up during the day and sleep at night. And we just, in this capitalistic culture that just fucks all of that up. There's no way that we can stay on those time schedules because we have such different time schedules in this country, because I know other countries don't do this shit. They don't do this shit. They don't do the 8-hour work days. Like they actually take lunch breaks and actually go and spend time with their families and stuff. And we over here scrambling, trying to eat and then go back to work.
If I wasn't opposed to moving to Europe, my country of choice would for sure be Spain. Because let me tell you, that midday nap situation sounds right. And it sounds amazing. I lived in Germany as a little girl, and one school year they were doing renovations on my school, so my class got picked to be the class to go to school, like on the German, in the German town, as opposed to on the army base, and we had to bring our lunch every day, and I am not that. I'm a hot lunch type of girl. I am not a sandwich type of girl. I hate homemade sandwiches to this day.
I do too.
That year, I had to take a lunch and take a sandwich every day. Because basically the school shut down. And I didn't understand it until I got older. But basically in Germany, they do the same thing. They take a break in the middle of the day, especially their schools. So kids go home and go to school, go eat lunch, take care of whatever it is they got to take care of, like around the house, whatever. I didn't know that. So I just knew that every day during lunchtime, we ate in the quasi dark because our classroom would still have lights and stuff like that. But the rest of the school was literally dark. And we was like, I didn't understand it. I was in like first grade, second grade, one of them grades. And I was like, it just be dark there, Mom. Yeah, I didn't know they shut down. And, in retrospect, I also feel like if we was going to go to the German school, we should have honored the German school's rules, and they should let me have a midday lunch or nap too. So I got moving on. The next sign of physical burnout is exhaustion. I know that all too well. But exhaustion is like, it's more than just you can't sleep or that you're sleepy. Exhaustion is you are literally tired and tired for no reason.
Right. You wake up tired.
Mm-hmm. You don't have the will to do the same things that you would normally do. Like if your day routine includes getting up at 6 a.m. to work out, and then you cook breakfast, and then you start your day, and then you, like, if that's your normal routine, but now all of a sudden, consistently, you can't get up at 6, and you don't want to eat breakfast, and you don't want to go to work, that's what exhaustion looks like. That's what burnout looks like. That's all I'm saying. Kept it brief.
It just hits home because I feel like I'm exhausted. And it's not because I've done anything. It's just, you're just exhausted. You're not doing anything different or anything more. You're just, Jesus. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a revelation. Moving on. The next sign is changes in eating habits. So I have definitely noticed changes in my eating habits. And we talked about this before we started recording, but I am a breakfast person. I wake up and I'm literally like, where's the food? I need something to eat now. But during this whole Panasonic, panoramic, whatever the hell you want to call it, I have noticed that my breakfast has gotten later and later. So like I'll eat breakfast at 12 o'clock when it's literally lunchtime, and I will just eat lunch and dinner, and breakfast is just like not a thing anymore. So that has changed my eating habits. I'm trying to get back on like a regular schedule, and it's still kind of hard right now, but definitely that hit home when I saw this in this article. And it also says that research suggests that stress hormones can affect your appetite. It can make you feel less hungry than usual when you're under a lot of stress, and more hungry than usual when that stress alleviates. And this was by Winner Moyer.
You good for that one. I didn't know. So good job. Good job with that name. I can attest to that as well. I am that person. That has been a horrible eating habit of mine for a while. I can go, especially if I'm like busy with work, literally go all day without eating because I'm busy, not thinking about it. It's not something conscious. And then at the end of the day, when I've shut down my computer and whatever, like I'd be like, oh my God, I'm hungry. And I eat like I have a tape. And then my blood sugar spikes. So I get the itis and I go to sleep on a full belly. And the cycle repeats. And this is, again, going back to what we talked about earlier about your circadian rhythm and your neurological hormonal system. They're all connected. So, yeah, changes in eating habits. This is a bad one I've had for a while. But I will say that I noticed that as well with this particular job, because 2 years ago when we went into we went into the endemic or pandemic, Panasonic. What did you call it earlier? I fell out.
Panasonic.
Yeah. 2 years ago when we entered the Panasonic, I was in a good place with my eating habits. And because I was working from home, I was like, y'all, I'm going to save all this money because I'm going to be cooking my lunch. I did not. I did not cook the lunches. I did. Nope, I didn't. But then there was a period when I am bad at meal prepping because I have really finicky eating habits sometimes. Like sometimes I just stop eating because I don't want to taste that taste anymore. And I'd be like, I'm done, I'm full. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really bad about meal prepping because I'll cook like my girlfriend meal prep my friend, she meal prepped this morning and friend that's a girl. My friend that's a girl, you have to clarify these days. And I got one of my lesbian friends got on me. She was like, stop saying girlfriend. So I was like, huh? So I'm trying to do better. But my friend that's a girl, she meal preps. And today she meal preps some salmon ball, like ground salmon balls. So like meatballs, but salmon. And some rice and some green of some sort. It looks really cute. Like it looks really good. But I know
Did
me.
I see that? I think I saw that.
I know me. I will cook that on Sunday. I might eat it on Monday, but I guarantee you by Tuesday, I'm like, I want spaghetti. That's not on the meal prep list. It's not in the little box. What are you doing? And then if I don't eat the spaghetti, then I'm not going to want to eat anything else. So I'm going back to therapy, y'all. There you go. Changes in eating habits. Next, stomach aches and digestive issues. By show of hands, how many of us look at what we excrete in the toilet, or what waste we excrete in the what waste we get rid of in the toilet? How many people look at it?
I do.
Okay, you do. Mm-hmm. I have a doctor friend, and she was like, "I don't understand how y'all people don't. You inspect what goes in your body, but you don't look at what comes out." And since she said that, like, yep, I look at my number one and my number two. But when you're having these issues, your number one or your number two may change. Mm-hmm. One study of people in Sweden suffering from an exhaustion disorder, a medical condition similar to burnout, found that 67% reported experiencing nausea, gas, or indigestion. And that's again by that person, Winner Moyer. But I offer to add, like, check your waist, folks. That might tell you some stories. I also heard that checking your waist is a way to, I don't want to say screen because we're not medical professionals, but it's a way you can kind of check and look out for colon cancer. So there's your little medical tidbit.
Have to look up what it means for different stools, I guess we would say. Yeah.
Stools. That is the proper word, stools. I don't know either, but I do know, like, if you got a series of, like, your stools are based on your diet, right? And so if it changes, so say, I'm about to get real gross, and I don't normally talk about number twos, y'all, so this is gonna hurt. Like if you go from very solid to less solid stools, there's a problem there. Right. And sometimes that just means you're eating healthier. If it goes from super solid to looser, right? But if it goes from looser to loose, there's a problem. And right. You need to kind of see what the problem is. Either you're right. eating the wrong things, or dehydration can cause your loose stools. So I don't want to talk about number two anymore. I want to move on.
No, like, I just want to add with digestive issues, like, and this is me personally. So, I've kind of noticed where, and it's probably because of stress and burnout, where it just feels like my food isn't digesting, and you know what that feels like for yourself. You know what that feels like. Just kind of feels like you eat and your food just kind of stays in one spot and it don't move. And there are other things that can cause that, but I'm pretty sure part of it may be a sign of burnout for myself. And that's just a reflection that I've had. But that's another thing to look out for is like, are you digesting your food correctly? And that can also be found in your stools. Just be aware of what goes in your body and what comes out and how it comes out and how it travels through your body.
Yes.
Just a tip.
Amen. And then the last symptom that the article chose to discuss was headaches and physical factors. So headaches, definitely, if you are getting headaches more than normal, then you really want to check that out, because there's also a difference between like a headache, a regular headache, I'll say, and like a migraine, right? And so even if you start to gain migraines, you might want to check. You definitely want to go get checked out to make sure it's a migraine. But if you're getting headaches, and then I say physical symptoms, because headaches they're not always just in your head.
Right.
They can be in your neck, they can be in your back, they can be in your shoulders. People should know that, especially for women, heart attacks present as a chest ache or a shoulder ache on the left side. Yes, that's how heart attacks present in women. And so we don't always have the like, clutch your chest type of heart attack. Nah, we be having mild heart attacks. Just be like, well, my shoulder was just hurting. So you want to make sure that you are alleviating stress and you are not burnt out or experiencing any of those physical type of symptoms.
Right. And also just kind of being aware of what type of headache it is. Just like you said, migraines, regular headaches. There's also tension headaches. There's also sinus headaches, which I have a lot. And that's just to deal with sinuses. And I know what that is. But most of the time, if it's regular and you know what it is, then you can kind of figure out what to do for it. But if it's something different, then that's when you need to probably talk to a medical professional about it.
Yeah, most of these headaches present someplace differently. So there's that.
Right. So how do we know the difference between burnout and regular stress? According to Psychology Today, burnout is an extended period of stress that feels as though it cannot be ameliorated. If stress is short-lived or tied to a specific goal, it is most likely not harmful. However, if the stress feels never-ending and comes with feelings of emptiness, apathy, and hopelessness, it may be indicative of a burnout.
And like I was saying earlier, with me getting frustrated with my job in electoral work, I had that ladder. I was in a position where I was feeling apathetic and hopeless regarding stuff on my job. And when I felt like that I didn't have the proper solution, or that when I recognized that I was the problem, I had to remove myself. So yeah, that's how I knew the difference. It wasn't just normal stress of the job, because my line of work is stressful, and organizers, mobilizers, they get stressed out, they get burnt out. And I recognized the burnout in me because because of that exact thing. I was feeling hopeless and I was feeling very apathetic. I was like, I ain't gonna get no more specifics and get myself in trouble. But yeah, that's how I knew that I was burnt out and I had to make a change. So I'm new job, still working in the community and for the community, because I'm hard-headed, don't know any better, and I still love my community. But I had to give myself a break from politics.
Understood. Because I don't know how you do it. But we thank you. We thank you for your service.
No problem. How to deal with burnout. So we got some ways to deal with burnout from our two different articles that we've cited today. So the first from Inc.com, extended breaks. So my line sisters this weekend was picking on my naps. But yeah, I take a nap. So count it as my lunch break, whatever. I take me a power nap just about every day. And that's my extended break. So it's not just like getting up, from your computer, walk to the bathroom, or the occasional grabbing a snack or whatever. No. I take dedicated and intentional breaks from my work. Writing exercises. I am a journaler, but I haven't journaled as much this year. No, I haven't journaled as much probably since the pandemic. And I can now recognize that that was probably a sign of burnout that I should have recognized a little bit earlier. Um, you know, knowledge helps. So now I know that that was probably a sign of burnout. I haven't felt like journaling. And let me clarify. I do journal, but I've been doing a lot of guided journals since the pandemic. I haven't freely journaled a lot since the pandemic. I've probably done it maybe like 3 times. And that's the difference for me, because typically I'm the free journaler.
Gotcha.
And then making time for hobbies. And I think that that's probably what's caused a lot of burnout for a lot of us, because a lot of our hobbies may or may not be social, and we haven't been able to be social really in 2 years. But look it go, because this somehow I'm finna be out in these streets until 9 o'clock.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. And then helping others. That is a way to deal with burnout. Now, if your job involves helping others, and that doesn't help.
Yeah.
So, but helping others. And I'm gonna just walk away from that one because that's my job. It gets confusing.
Right.
There's no.
Just depends on your personal situation. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
So according to the Psychology Today article, they talked about, because of course they talked about the Great Resignation, how people were just leaving jobs and they were just burnt out from their jobs. So the question was like, do you need to quit the job? And of course the answer is like, you said that so quick. But of course the answer is it depends. Like, is there a way that you can alleviate the stress at your job? Or do you just need to remove yourself from the environment? And like Ki has already told us, she removed herself from the environment because it wasn't going to get better. She already felt hopeless and she needed to move on. And if that's what you feel, then I suggest you move on as well. Now, it gets complicated with people in their own situations. Like if they can't leave, they can't really afford to leave. That's a whole different situation. But most of the time, I would advocate for leaving that job and going on to something else.
That's who she is, y'all. Kiki finna quit a job. She ain't gonna say too long. She finna quit. I will take some things and I'll take some more things until I realize that, time to go.
Right. So in saying that, like, there are different ways that you can either quit your job or you can stay there. If you're going to stay there, is there a way that you can set better boundaries at work?
Yes.
And by better boundaries, we mean taking your regular breaks. A lot of people tend to work through breaks sometimes, especially if you have more of an intellectual job. Don't do that. Go take your break. Minimize multitasking. I knew that when I read this, I thought about you, because I was like, she the queen of multitasking over here. But, you got to minimize it, okay? Can't be doing 50 things at once. We already talked about this. We're going to talk about it in another episode, though.
That's who?
Says both of us. And also just saying no. So, like, if your workload is already a lot, say no. Like, I can't fit this on my schedule. Either you're gonna have to take something else off and I can't give that to you and I can put this on, or I'm just gonna have to keep what I got because I can't fit anything on my schedule right now.
Listen, so I've already sung her praises before, but there's this girl, I think her name is Danielle, out of the Management Center, and the Management Center is a nonprofit out of DC. Amazing organization that does these amazing trainings for, I believe it might be just in the nonprofit sector. But anyway, they did this amazing training and it was teaching me how to set boundaries at work. And the first thing you can do, work on your calendar. Your calendar becomes communication between you and your boss, right? And so it says when you're free. And so if you need to take a break, you need to schedule that in, right? And that's what I meant by taking intentional breaks. I take an intentional break I try to schedule an intentional break in the morning, an intentional break in the afternoon. My intentional break in the afternoon usually involves me going outside for a walk on a nice day. My smaller breaks are honoring my smartwatch and, getting up and making sure I get my steps per hour. Um, and then the other thing they taught was the saying no aspect. She said, for every yes, there is a no. And that was so novel to me because for every yes, there's a no. So, like, take for example, this recording, this podcasting, right? I have to literally say no to brunch on a Sunday afternoon because that's our recording time. So if I say yes, then I have to sacrifice another no throughout the week to try to catch up with Kiki again so that we can record. And I just thought that was such a novel idea, but that is also something that you can work on with your boss. So like when your boss is saying, hey, I need you to do this project and this one, you come to them and say, well, which would you like for me to prioritize? Or which one would you like for me to set down? Because my plate is already my plate is already full. What would you like me to give up or not do? And they're gonna look at you real crazy. Mm-hmm. But that's gonna make them think, oh, okay, she really setting this boundary here. So they honor it or they don't, you quit. Whatever.
Sure. So the next thing is self-care practices, because we are a self-care podcast, right? So of course the first thing was yoga. So yoga to reset your physical body, your mind, and everything in one. You can also do mindfulness meditations or practice mindfulness in general. Also massages. So of course we're talking about the five physical traits of burnout. So a massage can help you to kind of release tension in your body and hopefully release some of that stress. Exercise as well. Say that again.
Personally puts me to sleep.
It should. Like,
I'd be out the table.
Right. And then exercise. So exercise, of course, helps us to relieve stress, helps us to move our body and get those tension knots out wherever they are, just in a different way aside from a massage. And then dietary changes. So we talked about the changes in our diet and the changes in our eating habits earlier. So this may include just trying to eat on a regular schedule, just like I said, or trying to figure out what foods are causing you stress or causing you to feel sluggish, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I know for me, eating a lot of fried foods all the time is definitely going to make me feel sluggish. I have to mix it up and put some veggies in there and some fruits and make sure I get my water in to feel like energetic.
And I hate to talk about the bathroom talk, but if it's a struggle between you and your stools, then dietary changes or self-care practice, incorporate some more vegetables, friend, and some more water.
Yes. Definitely. And last is practicing self-compassion. This is so hard for a lot of people. And I'm usually the friend that reminds people, like, give yourself some grace, especially in this whole panorama. Give yourself some grace because we're all experiencing a collective trauma, or we're coming off of experiencing a collective trauma. We have endured so much stress, so much change, and your body knows that. So it's going to go through some changes. Give yourself some grace, and it's going to take a while for you to kind of turn that around. Of course, we know that trying to build a habit takes intention and effort. And sometimes you have to do something for what, 21 days, we said?
21 days makes happen.
Build a habit. So give yourself grace when you're trying to build habits or you're trying to break habits. Yeah. It's hard.
So a lot of us, self included, have, gained some weight during COVID.
Mm-hmm. That COVID 19 pounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What'd you say?
That COVID 19 pounds. Mm-hmm.
COVID 19 pounds. Yes. COVID need to come back and get them. Like, he dropped them off. He can come get them.
Come get them.
I don't babysit. I don't. So, but that's one place that you should practice self-compassion. Like, I get it. The summer's coming and you ain't quite work out like you were supposed to. And so that meme, summer gonna get whatever body I give it. And that's real cute, right? But we need to actually be intentional about practicing self-compassion and not just summer gonna give it whatever it's gonna get. Like, that's cute, but that goes into that direction. So, if summer gonna get whatever it's gonna give it, fine, great, good. Just don't forget about your like self-care in terms of like, are you actually taking care of yourself, or did you really just let yourself go? And if you did, show yourself grace, come back to it.
Just gonna bow out gracefully.
Bow out gracefully.
Because I felt like you was yelling at me right then. I'm just going.
I was, friend. I was talking to myself. Okay.
But you're talking to me too. So
I was talking to myself. So maybe we should get this together. I was telling y'all earlier that yoga. I'd come back to it. I knew for sure that I was in a burnt out state when I hadn't physically practiced yoga in months. Right. My schedule with work was crazy. It has periods where it's really crazy. It has periods where it's down. But when I would get in those down periods, I really wasn't interested in getting on my mat. And, because yoga has so many facets, it really does. And so yoga just isn't getting on your mat and doing the physical thing. Right. And I kind of hid behind that for a little while. I was like, oh, I haven't been doing physical yoga, but I've been doing mental yoga. But the physical is where I like thrive. It's what I'm very good at. I might not be so good at, let me think of one of the yamas. I might not be so good at compassion for others, right? Mm-hmm. But what I am good at is my physical yoga. And when I realized I hadn't practiced in months, I was like, light bulb. Like, that was my light bulb moment. Between, I just put a lot of stuff together one day because I did take some time off from the previous job. And one of those moments, I was just off and I was just like, I just put, it strung together and it was like a light bulb. And that was one of the keys. I hadn't physically practiced yoga myself in a while. And my 10-man body now shows it. Mm-hmm. But I would show myself some self-compassion and I'm going to just get on my mat and try a little bit more and more and more each week.
That's something real for me too, because I think we've both been in the same boat where we just haven't been in the mood to actually get on your mat. Yeah, I'm guilty too, because you will always scream, you do other things. And yes, I do other things. But like you said, there are certain aspects of yoga that you thrive in, and that the physical is for you. But for me, the physical is where I found a lot of the things that I practice now: self-compassion, confidence, just building myself up, awareness. And when you're not doing that, you kind of lose it. Mm-hmm. And then you go back into it and it seems kind of foreign to you, but it doesn't. And what I found is when I go back into it, like, I know what to do. My body still is capable of doing all of these things. It's just that my mindset has to change to get back into the mood of actually doing it.
Right. I get it, friend. I get it. So, my friends listening to this podcast, how many of you, look, by show of hands, or you know what? Can you like this post when we post this trailer? Can you like it? Can you share it with your friends? But share with your friends if you've ever felt like this. Share it with your friends. Share it on your social media if you've experienced burnt out ever, or you're currently experiencing burnout. Are you currently experiencing any of these symptoms? How, or if you've gone through a burnout period, how have you dealt with that? Like, are you okay, sis? Like, you good?
And if you need to actually talk about things like this, when you send it to your friends, you will probably find at least one person that's going to say, "Oh my God, I have felt just like this."
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all can have a conversation about it.
Right. Let me send this to my best friend, because she back on it, y'all. We talked, we were doing good, and now she back in that stage. So I'm gonna just send her the episode and tell her to listen.
Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
Do it. I'm gonna do it. What are you gonna do for self-care this week, Kiki?
This week, honestly, I am going to mentally prepare myself to go back into the office 4 days a week. That's literally my goal. Literally my goal. I ain't even gonna put no pressure on myself, because I'm giving myself grace, because I know I ain't gonna like it, but I gotta do it anyway.
Amen. It's gonna be the same type of week for me. This is gonna be a give myself grace week, because I will be starting my new job. And so I might have a new schedule. I might have I'm open to it all. So I'm giving myself grace this week. But I'm definitely going to definitely going to be intentional about making time to work out. But first, I'm gonna get some more rest. So like tomorrow, my day off.
Please get you some rest.
It's gonna be a good portion of sleeping and rest. Mm-hmm. So Kiki is actually going to drop the links to both of because she's the brains behind this operation. She's going to drop the link to both of those articles that we discussed today, so you guys can reference and read for yourself. And we just, like I said, but I'm gonna say it one more time. Please share this good juice with your friends. Share on social media,
share
Facebook,
with your friends,
Instagram, Twitter, and the Anchor page. Like, share it. Share it all.
Share it.
To put a question on Anchor for y'all.
So this is actually on Anchor, and it's actually on Spotify. So y'all check out the episode, and when y'all look at the description, scroll down a little bit on Spotify, and there should be a poll or a question there, and you can answer it, and we'll see your answers. We will see your answers. Yes. So don't forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. Okay? Share the podcast, y'all. Follow us on Take Care Sis Pod, and that's on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm. And where can they find you, sis?
So you can find me everywhere, just about everywhere, as This Curvy Yogi. This Curvy Yogi, and that is curvy with an I, not a Y. Like I said in previous episodes, you put Y in there, you're going to find somebody else. That is not Kiki. It's not Kiki. Okay?
Not Kiki.
And where can they find you, Ki?
You can find me at yoga_with_Ki, Ki, and I am on Instagram. And you can go to my website, which is Yoga with Ki with no spaces. So it's just yogawithki.net.
Space.
That space. Why do I do that? It's Yoga with Ki, that space. I was cool and coming up with this. I was like, ooh, space, because it's going to be a good, healthy space, right? And I could never remember it.
Y'all, I'll have that in the description too. Y'all just click on it and go to her website.
My sister has my back. Thank you, goodness.
I got your back. I really do. I got your back, because I know you struggle every time.
Every time.
So sis, I want you to take care. Take care of yourself, okay?
Kiki, I want you to take care and give yourself that grace and space
Yes.
you need. And to all our friends in the podcast world, we want you to give yourself grace and to take care. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.